What's going on YouTube, David here, and today we're going to talk about the next generation of PC graphics. In this game, it starts out slow, but I get a 20 kill streak playing 64-player team deathmatch on Sharky using the SV98 and the G18. This was my first respawn of the game. I put my radio beacon down hoping to be able to get to the rooftops after I died. I didn't expect to survive as long as I did because I took the most central building. You obviously have a big advantage being on the roofs, but other firefights in Sharky are confined to the edges and corners, so you have a good view of the action from the middle, but everyone also has a better view of you, so it's pretty risky to stay where I stayed. But now let's get on to the main topic of this commentary. So a revealed roadmap of the Nvidia GPUs has shown that the Maxwell architecture, the successor to the Kepler aka 600 series, is slated for a 2014 launch. For months, people speculated that in between Kepler and Maxwell, that Nvidia would do a refresh of the current 600 models and designate that as the 700 series. After all, the original 600 line was released in 2012, so it would make sense to improve on some older designs like the GTX 680. Now, it is almost 100% confirmed that any redesigns of Kepler will retain the designation of 600, and only until Maxwell hits will we see a GPU designated as 700. There are some 700 designated mobile GPUs like for laptops, but in terms of desktop GPUs, it will probably be Maxwell till we see a 700 model. In early 2013, Nvidia releases include the GK110 Titan and the GTX 650 Ti Boost, which was an upgraded 650 Ti and provides great value. The GTX Titan, on the other hand, is not great value by anyone's standard. However, it is not marketed as a price per performance card. It exists just for the fact that it can. It's really only for two groups. The first group are those in professional computing industries that need semi-supercomputer processors, because the Titan was based off a supercomputer. Second, it's for the most egotistical, sadistic, small penis gamers that need to compensate by having the best hardware available and want to be able to brag and put down others that they own the single fastest GPU. Okay, maybe that was a little mean and judgmental, but it's just to show that the Titan is not a reasonable buy even for enthusiast gamers and PC builders. Let's face it, for gaming, there's no point to get just one Titan, because the GTX 690 is faster and is the better option for a single GPU. So if you're getting a Titan, you're getting a second one for the SLI scaling benefit over the 690. That's $2,000 on just graphics cards. Some informed but hardcore PC gamers might consider $2,000 on graphics if you were actually getting $2,000 of value on graphics, but the Titan doesn't give you that value. There is a leaked model of the Titan called the Titan LE to be released in 2013. It's a slimmed down Titan, but it shares the same problem. It's not a price per performance or value card. Nvidia wants to ride the Titan for $1,000 as long as they can, and they have been selling well relative to how many are being produced. So there are positives and negatives of a later launch of the next GPU generation. The negative is so obvious and seems like such a minor effect that I'll talk about it first. Avid PC gamers and people who are really into having cutting edge tech will have to wait to upgrade. There were a lot of guys with older GPUs that were going to wait until the 700 series to upgrade, and some gamers that wanted to get into PC gaming were going to wait until the 700 series to get into PC gaming altogether. We also won't see a substantial price drop on the 600 series. But this segues well into my discussion of the positives of a later release. It means that for those with the 600 series cards, we are getting a better lifespan and better value out of our cards. Those who want to upgrade should get a 600 series card because they are excellent value. People who aren't into PC building like to poke fun at those who feel like they need to upgrade frequently to remain close to the top. Really, frequent upgrading is personal preference, and not everyone upgrades as frequently as you think, so that's not a fair criticism. But with the delayed release of the 700 series, you don't have to upgrade to remain close to the top, and your hardware is a long way away from being outdated, and it's comforting to know that you'll be able to play future games well. I hope that my positives and negatives aren't inherently contradicting, in that the negative is that you can upgrade, and the positive is that you don't have to. But I think a later release has more of a positive effect for the following reason. Modern games run fine on current generation graphics cards. It was back in 2007 that Crysis 1 was released and consumers couldn't max it out unless they had a several $1,000 PC. In 2013, using the very affordable two-way SLI GTX 670s, I can max out Crysis 3 with multi-GPU accelerated anti-aliasing at 1080p and get 60 frames per second. Crysis 3 is definitely the most graphically intense game right now, and probably will be until 2014 or whenever The Witcher 3 comes out. Right now, I can't think of any game that could challenge Crysis 3 in the visuals department. Not even Battlefield 4 should challenge Crysis 3. And looking at the single player gameplay that was released so far for Battlefield 4, I don't think it's so much of a Frostbite 3 as EA is advertising it. Is more of a very optimized and refined Frostbite 2, and I think it should be called Frostbite 2.5. I personally am looking forward to a lot more destruction in Battlefield 4 than there was destruction in Battlefield 3, because the destruction in Battlefield 3 was a little bit disappointing in my eye. But the game definitely looks better than Battlefield 3, especially in the character models, but a 600 series graphics card should handle the game well. I think a great analogy to make for a GPU upgrade over the 600 series is owning a Ferrari but still having to drive on highways with speed limits. There's no point in having better graphics cards if games can't get to the top of them. Unless you need to always play at 120 frames using triple monitor 3D, then the GTX 600 series of cards will be great for a long time to come. Now AMD is a little more transparent about their next generation of graphics cards, the 8000 series, aka the Sea Islands architecture. This will launch in Q4 of 2013. Unfortunately, I don't have very much to say about AMD because I'm not as familiar with them, but when contrasting AMD and Nvidia, I like to think of AMD as better raw power, but Nvidia as better refined performance. Pure performance specs for the money will always favor AMD. Formerly, Nvidia had better optimization over more games, but recent AMD drivers have bridged the gap, and AMD is better optimized in similar numbers of games to Nvidia. The 7970 is arguably the best value high-end card for most people. Nvidia cards are better in some aspects like multi-monitor gaming, multi-GPU support, and 3D vision, but still AMD is very competitive. It'll be interesting to see how the release schedule affects pricing. If I recall correctly, AMD reduced the price of their 7000 series cards when the 600 series of Nvidia GPUs was released. Anyways guys, let me know what you think about this and current generation of graphics cards and what high graphics games you are looking forward to playing. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this commentary all the way through, and I'll see you next video.